Close your eyes. The past is about to speak. When you think of the Ice Age, your mind might conjure images of a grizzled figure in a tattered animal hide, huddled miserably in a cold, damp cave. You probably picture a primitive, grunting individual, barely surviving the brutal cold, forever on the verge of hypothermia, sleeping directly on unforgiving rock, counting the moments until dawn brings another struggle for existence. Hollywood has certainly done its part in cementing this image. The perpetually shivering, intellectually stunted caveman, struggling with fire, barely comprehending his own shadow, let alone the complex physics of heat transfer or the delicate balance of an ecosystem. It's a compelling, if deeply flawed, narrative. You might even find yourself thinking, with a shiver, that you probably wouldn't last a day trying to replicate their primitive comfort without a DIY YouTube tutorial and a fully stocked modern survival kit. Well, tonight we're going to put that myth to sleep, once and for all. The truth, my friend, is far more complex, more ingenious, and frankly, more comfortable than you could ever imagine. Our Ice Age ancestors were not brutish survivors. They were ingenious engineers, forgotten scientists, and surprisingly sophisticated architects of comfort. They transformed a hostile, frozen world into a place of surprising security, and yes, even warmth. This is the story of how they mastered the art of a good night's sleep, using everything from natural pesticides to mammoth bone architecture. And in doing so, allowed a relatively small, hairless ape to not just survive, but to truly conquer a planet. Tonight, as you drift into your own comfortable slumber, you'll journey back in time, not to shiver with them, but to appreciate the profound intelligence and resilience that kept humanity alive and thriving. So, if you're joining us tonight from a cozy bed somewhere in a bustling city, or perhaps from a quiet cabin under the stars, take a moment to consider your location and the local time. Feel the weight of your blankets, the softness of your pillow, and prepare to have your understanding of ancient comfort completely reimagined. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together, where history meets slumber. Imagine, if you will, that you are standing on the edge of an ancient forest, the air crisp and sharp with the scent of pine and something wild, something untamed. The sun, a pale, anemic orb, is sinking below a horizon of jagged, snow-capped peaks, casting long, purple shadows across the landscape. You can feel the biting cold begin to creep into your bones, a chilling promise of the long, dark night ahead. This isn't a cold you're familiar with from a modern winter, where you can simply retreat indoors and crank up the thermostat. This is a primordial cold, a visceral, penetrating force that demands respect and ingenuity. The wind, a mournful whisper through the skeletal branches of ancient trees, carries the distant, eerie sound of a pack of wolves, a reminder that the world outside your shelter is unforgiving and filled with silent dangers. You pull your thick, fur-lined cloak tighter around you, the coarse animal hair rough against your cheek, but the warmth it offers feels fleeting, a mere illusion against the encroaching chill. Your breath hangs in the air, a visible plume that instantly dissipates, a fleeting testament to your presence in this stark, beautiful, and utterly lethal environment. The ground under your feet is hard, frozen earth, perhaps with a thin crust of ice crackling under your worn hide boots. Every sound is amplified in the stillness. The crunch of your footsteps, the faint rustle of a small creature in the undergrowth, the rhythmic thud of your own heart beating a steady rhythm against the silence. You scan the tree line, your eyes constantly assessing, evaluating, searching for movement, for a sign of danger, or perhaps for a glimpse of the game that will sustain your community. This is your world, a world where survival is not a given, but an achievement meticulously crafted and fiercely defended. But as the last sliver of light vanishes, plunging the world into a velvety darkness punctuated only by the distant gleam of ancient stars, you turn towards your true sanctuary. It's not just a hole in the ground or a random rock overhang. No, your home, whether a deep cave or a meticulously constructed shelter, is a marvel of ancient engineering. The scent that greets you as you duck low to enter is a complex tapestry. The earthy smell of damp soil, the rich, smoky aroma of a long-burning fire, and surprisingly, a faint, sweet smell of dried grasses and herbs. This is not the acrid stench of unwashed bodies you might expect from common depictions. It is a carefully managed environment, a testament to a forgotten sophistication. The air inside, though still cool, holds a palpable warmth, a stark contrast to the frigid world you've left behind. You can hear the low murmur of voices, the crackle of burning wood, and perhaps the soft rustle of someone adjusting their sleeping mat. There are no buzzing flies, no scurrying mice, a detail you might find surprisingly significant, a testament to effective, albeit ancient, pest control. This isn't just a place to escape the elements. It's a meticulously organized space designed for comfort, for safety, and critically, for restorative sleep. For our ancestors, sleep was not a luxury. It was a strategic imperative. A well-rested hunter was a sharper hunter, more alert, more agile, less prone to mistakes that could mean life or death. A community of well-rested individuals was a stronger, more cohesive unit, better able to coordinate hunts, defend against predators, and navigate the complex social dynamics necessary for survival. Think about it. Without the benefit of caffeine or sugary energy drinks, without the ability to simply order a pizza when you're too tired to cook, your ability to function was directly tied to the quality of your sleep. There was no argument over a thermostat, no struggling with a lumpy mattress you bought online, no late-night television keeping you awake. Your survival literally depended on your ability to catch quality Z's. The common misconception of the caveman sleeping directly on cold, hard rock is perhaps one of the most persistent and frankly ridiculous myths. Imagine trying to get a good night's sleep on a granite slab when the outside temperature is well below freezing. You wouldn't just be uncomfortable, you'd be dead from hypothermia in short order. Our ancestors were far too clever, too pragmatic for such folly. They understood thermodynamics, insulation, and even pest management long before those words existed. They knew that contact with the cold ground was a direct pathway for heat loss from the body, and they developed ingenious solutions to combat it. This knowledge wasn't written in textbooks. It was embedded in their collective wisdom, passed down through generations, refined through trial and error, a hard-won understanding of the subtle nuances of their natural world. Archaeological sites across the globe, from the incredibly detailed discoveries at Sibudu Cave in South Africa to the ancient lakeside dwellings of Ohalo II in Israel, are slowly but surely revealing the complex, sophisticated engineering our ancestors employed. These sites are not just yielding tools or fire pits, they are unearthing the very foundations of ancient comfort. We're talking about layered bedding systems, primitive but effective pest control strategies, and even rudimentary architectural principles applied to shelter construction. While historians still debate the precise timeline for the widespread adoption of specific bedding technologies across different regions, the evidence is increasingly clear. These were not isolated incidents of ingenuity, but widespread practices developed and adapted over tens of thousands of years. They were, in essence, the original home improvement specialists, constantly innovating to make their dwellings more habitable. And you thought your smart home devices were impressive. The idea that our ancestors were simply brute force survivors, relying solely on strength and instinct, is a disservice to their incredible intellect and adaptability. They observed, they experimented, they learned. They understood which plants had medicinal properties, which animal furs offered the best insulation, and which natural features could be transformed into defensible, warm, and comfortable living spaces. Their understanding of their environment was not merely academic. It was deeply practical, woven into the fabric of their daily existence. Every decision, from where to build a shelter to what to use for bedding, was a calculated one, designed to maximize their chances of survival and, importantly, their quality of life. This was the dawn of human ingenuity, where the very act of seeking comfort became a powerful driver of innovation, shaping the trajectory of our species. As you step further into the ancient dwelling, leaving the primordial cold behind, you begin to understand that these were not random holes in the ground chosen by chance. Oh no, your ancestors were not just seeking shelter, they were seeking the right shelter. Imagine for a moment that you are the real estate agent of the Stone Age, tasked with finding the perfect property for your clan. There were no online listings with glossy photos and glowing reviews, no Zillow with virtual tour. Instead, you relied on generations of accumulated wisdom, an innate understanding of topography, microclimates, and the subtle whispers of the wind. You'd be looking for a cave entrance that faced south, perhaps, to maximize the precious sunlight during the day, drawing in what little warmth it offered. You'd want a location that was naturally shielded from the prevailing winds, perhaps nestled within a valley or behind a protective ridge. And crucial, absolutely crucial, would be a dry interior, because nothing saps the life out of you faster than damp, clinging cold. You wouldn't find any open concept layouts here. Functionality was king. As your eyes adjust to the dim light filtering in from the entrance, you notice the contours of the cave, no longer just a raw geological feature, but a subtly modified living space. The floor, unlike the uneven, debris-strewn ground outside, is remarkably level in places, particularly where the sleeping areas are. This wasn't achieved by magic or some forgotten ancient power tool. It was the result of backbreaking, repetitive work. You can almost feel the ache in your own back as you imagine chipping away at rock with rudimentary tools, scraping away layers of dirt and loose stones, compacting the earth to create a relatively smooth, even surface. It's a testament to their dedication to comfort, or perhaps simply to their primal understanding that sleeping on a lumpy, rocky surface would quickly lead to debilitating back pain and a very short, very uncomfortable life. There was no chiropractor for the Homo sapiens of the Ice Age, after all. The air inside the cave carries the distinct, earthy scent of ancient soil, but also the more comforting aroma of wood smoke, a constant presence that permeates every fiber of your clothing, every breath you take. It's a smell that speaks of warmth, of cooked food, and of safety. You can hear the low, rhythmic crackle of the central fire, a steady heartbeat against the deep silence of the earth. Sometimes, a single drop of water will fall from the cave ceiling, hitting a small puddle with a soft, echoing plink, a natural soundscape that, in its regularity, becomes a part of the background hum of existence. The walls of the cave, cold and damp to the touch in places, radiate a primal coolness, a stark contrast to the small, concentrated pool of warmth around the fire. You learn to orient yourself, to find the pockets of slightly warmer air, the draft-free corners. But what if a suitable cave wasn't available? This is where our ancestors' ingenuity truly shines, revealing that they were not just cave dwellers, but true architects of necessity. Many Ice Age communities lived in open-air camps, building sophisticated, temporary, or semi-permanent structures designed to withstand the brutal elements. Imagine the immense effort involved, sourcing materials from the surrounding landscape. You'd be out there, not with a shopping list for your local hardware store, but with a deep, instinctive knowledge of the forest and its offerings. You'd know which branches were strong enough for structural support, which hides were thickest and most insulating, which natural adhesives could bind materials together. This wasn't guesswork. It was a science of survival, passed down through generations. You might be part of a group gathering large timbers, perhaps even the sturdy leg bones of a mammoth or the massive antlers of a giant deer, hauling them across the frozen landscape. The sheer physical exertion involved in constructing even a simple lean-to, let alone a more robust hut, would be monumental. There were no cranes, no power tools, just collective human strength, ingenuity, and a shared desire for warmth and protection. You'd be working with your hands, feeling the rough bark of the trees, the surprisingly heavy weight of a fresh animal hide, the biting cold on your skin as you secured joints with twisted plant fibers or sinews, the sound of axes biting into wood, the grunts of effort, the rhythmic movements of a coordinated team. These were the sounds of construction in the ancient world. These structures, often circular or oval in shape, were surprisingly efficient in conserving heat. Think of them as the original tiny homes, meticulously designed for maximum utility. They might have started with a framework of sturdy branches, lashed together to form a dome or conical shape. Over this skeleton, your community would stretch animal hides, perhaps from reindeer, bison, or even mammoths, creating a surprisingly effective barrier against the wind and snow. These hides would have been painstakingly processed, scraped clean, possibly smoked to make them more durable and water-resistant. The smell of cured hide, an almost leathery, gamey scent, would have mingled with the wood smoke inside. To further insulate these dwellings, your ancestors would often pile earth, sod, or even snow around the base, creating a thick, insulating wall that trapped warmth and kept the chilling winds at bay. This earth packing would have been a continuous effort, a constant battle against erosion and settling. You'd feel the damp, cold earth on your hands as you packed it tighter, knowing that every shovelful contributed directly to the warmth you would feel that night. This wasn't just building. It was an intimate conversation with the land, understanding its properties and coaxing it into providing shelter. There was no building code to meet, no city inspector to approve your design, but the stakes were infinitely higher. Survival. Archaeologists still debate the exact structural longevity of many of these open-air shelters. Some were clearly temporary, used for a few weeks or months during migratory periods, quickly erected and just as quickly abandoned. Others, particularly those at long-term campsites, show evidence of more robust construction, suggesting they were intended for multiple seasons, perhaps even decades of use. You can almost see the ghosts of generations living within those walls, maintaining and improving them over time, each repair adding another layer to the story of the structure. This level of planning and investment in a dwelling fundamentally debunks the myth of the constantly nomadic, improvisational caveman. They settled, they built, they refined. The quirky tidbit here: consider the ingenious use of mammoth bones, not just as tools or decorative items, but as actual architectural components. In regions where wood was scarce, our ancestors repurposed the massive bones of these extinct giants. Imagine the sheer effort required to transport and arrange these colossal bones, ribs forming the framework for walls, skulls used as anchors, pelvises acting as natural shelters. This wasn't merely practical. It was a profound act of transformation, turning the remains of a formidable beast into the very structure of human comfort. You might feel the smooth, surprisingly dense surface of a mammoth rib as you lean against it, knowing that this animal, once a source of food and challenge, now provided the very walls that protected you. It's an incredible example of resourcefulness, turning a direct threat into an essential component of survival architecture. These early shelters, whether natural caves or constructed dwellings, highlight a crucial aspect of ancient life: the deep connection between shelter and survival. They weren't just places to sleep. They were command centers for hunting and gathering, social hubs for storytelling and learning, and vital nurseries for the next generation. You weren't simply living in a house. You were living within a system, a network of interdependencies where every material, every design choice, every effort contributed to the collective well-being. This early mastery of shelter design, born from necessity and refined by trial and error, laid the groundwork for all future human architecture. You look around, perhaps touching the rough stone wall or the taut animal hide, and you realize that this isn't primitive. It's foundational. It's the very first step on the long journey towards your own climate-controlled, pest-free bedroom. A quiet whisper from the past reminding you where true comfort truly began. Now that you've observed the remarkable ingenuity in constructing these early shelters, imagine yourself stepping fully into the heart of one. You've left the biting wind and the silent dangers of the outside world behind, and as you draw deeper into the cave or constructed dwelling, the air grows noticeably warmer, softer. This isn't just due to clever architecture or insulation. It's largely thanks to the pulsating heart of your ancient home, the central hearth. You can feel the heat radiating from it, a palpable warmth that thrums through the very air. The flickering orange glow casts dancing shadows on the rough walls, transforming the space into something both primal and profoundly comforting. The scent of wood smoke is strong here, not acrid or choking, but mellow and earthy, a smell that speaks of constant vigilance, of life sustained, and of a deliberate, controlled mastery over fire. As you draw closer, perhaps settling onto a prepared sleeping area near the warmth, you notice that the fire isn't just a source of heat, it's a social magnet. You can hear the low murmur of voices, a soft cadence of conversation, perhaps the occasional quiet laugh or the gentle shush of a parent soothing a child. The sounds are hushed, intimate, amplified slightly by the enclosed space. There are no loud televisions, no blaring music, no constant notifications from a device demanding your attention. The only distractions are the subtle shifts of bodies, the crackle of the flames, and the occasional soft sound of an ember falling. You might feel the gentle warmth of another body beside you, a child nestled close, or a clan member sharing the limited space. This isn't an annoyance. It's a vital source of shared warmth, a collective body furnace against the relentless cold. Think about it. In a world where external heat sources were limited, every single body radiating its own heat was a valuable asset. Communal sleeping wasn't just a social custom, it was a survival strategy. You're not just sharing a space, you're sharing warmth, a profound biological connection to your community. This contrasts sharply with modern life, where many of us sleep in isolated rooms, often alone, relying entirely on mechanical systems to regulate our comfort. Your ancestors, however, understood the innate power of collective body heat. You might find yourself drifting off to the rhythmic breathing of those around you, a comforting symphony of slumber that reinforces your connection to the group. There's a certain peace in knowing you're not alone, especially when the sounds of the night, a distant howl, the rustle of unseen creatures, remind you of the dangers that lurk just beyond your communal warmth. The hearth, beyond providing warmth, was the epicenter of daily life. This is where food was cooked, transforming raw, often tough, ingredients into digestible and nutritious meals. You might catch the subtle, savory scent of roasting meat, perhaps bison or mammoth, mingling with the wood smoke. You can almost taste the rich, smoky flavor, knowing that every bite contributes to the internal furnace that keeps you warm. This is where stories were told, where knowledge was passed down from elder to youth, where strategies for the next hunt were debated, and where tools were sharpened and mended. The sound of a flint striking rock, a rhythmic rasp as an edge is honed, becomes part of the evening lullaby. The low flicker of the flames illuminates faces, creating a sense of intimacy and shared experience that is almost impossible to replicate in our fragmented modern lives. You might find yourself watching the faces of your clan members, illuminated by the fire, reading their expressions, understanding without words the bonds that tie you together. One mainstream historical fact that often gets overlooked is just how profoundly social our ancestors were. The image of the solitary caveman, grunting his way through life, is a complete fabrication. Human beings are and always have been deeply social creatures. In the Ice Age, social cohesion wasn't just nice to have. It was absolutely essential for survival. A single individual, isolated from their group, would have had almost no chance against the elements, the predators, or the sheer difficulty of finding enough food. It was the collective intelligence, the shared labor, and the mutual support that allowed them to thrive. You don't just warm yourself by the fire. You warm yourself with the collective presence of your community. Consider the division of labor that supported this communal warmth. While some were out hunting or gathering, others would have been meticulously collecting firewood, ensuring a continuous supply of fuel for the hearth. You might have seen members of your clan returning, their backs laden with branches, their hands perhaps scratched and cold, but their faces showing a quiet satisfaction at providing for the group. There was no argument over who would fetch the wood, no passive-aggressive notes left on the fridge. It was an understood, vital contribution. The effort required to maintain a constant fire, especially in environments where fuel was not always abundant, was immense. It speaks volumes about their commitment to comfort and safety. The scholarly context here delves into the debates about the size and structure of these early communities. While we have archaeological evidence of individual hearths and sleeping areas, precisely how many people constituted a typical Ice Age clan, and whether they regularly shared large communal sleeping platforms or had more defined personal spaces within the larger dwelling, remains a topic of ongoing academic discussion. We can only speculate about the precise number of individuals huddled together for warmth on any given night, but the pervasive evidence of communal living suggests groups were large enough to provide mutual support and defense, but small enough to remain mobile when necessary. You might wonder if there was ever a fight over who got the spot closest to the fire, or who snored too loudly, bringing a moment of relatable pain point to an otherwise alien existence. There was no quiet zone in these ancient dormitories. A quirky, shocking tidbit related to this communal living. Imagine the hygiene, or lack thereof, by modern standards. While we will discuss their ingenuity in pest control, the sheer proximity of many bodies in a confined space meant certain realities. Think about the accumulated scents, sweat, cooked food, smoke, perhaps the occasional wild animal carcass brought in for processing. There was no running water for showers, no soap as you know it, no deodorant. Yet, despite these challenges, archaeological evidence suggests they managed to maintain levels of cleanliness that, while far from modern pristine, were sufficient to prevent widespread disease outbreaks that could have decimated their populations. You might feel a slight prickle of unease at the thought, a stark reminder of the privileges of your own era's plumbing and sanitation. But for them, the trade-off of shared warmth and security far outweighed any olfactory challenges. Despite the hardships, the enduring image from these communal spaces is one of profound human resilience. You are not just surviving, you are thriving, precisely because of your connection to others. The shared warmth of the hearth, the proximity of other bodies, the comforting sounds of your clan. These elements combine to create a sense of security that allows for genuine rest. You learn to trust the quiet breathing of those around you, to instinctively know that if danger were to approach, someone would stir, someone would react. This deep-seated sense of community, born from the harsh necessities of the Ice Age, fostered an unbreakable bond among humans, laying the groundwork for all future social structures. You close your eyes, feeling the gentle pulse of the fire's heat and the steady, comforting presence of your fellow humans. This shared sleep, this collective sigh of relief at the end of a perilous day, allowed your ancestors not just to dream, but to survive, to endure, and ultimately to become the architects of their own future. Let the past sing you to sleep, with the echoes of shared warmth and ancient comfort. You felt the communal warmth of the hearth, the comforting presence of your clan members, and the enveloping security of the shelter's walls. But even within this relative haven, the ground beneath you remains unforgivingly cold, a relentless thief of precious body heat. Imagine trying to achieve restorative sleep directly on the hard, often damp, earth of a cave floor, or on the compacted soil of a constructed hut, especially when the outside temperature plummets far below freezing. You wouldn't just feel uncomfortable, you would be actively losing heat to the ground through conduction, a silent, insidious drain on your core temperature. This isn't just about a good night's sleep, it's about preventing hypothermia, about maintaining the strength and alertness necessary to survive another day. Your ancient self, quite unlike your modern self who might complain about a slightly too firm mattress, understood that the very quality of your bedding was a matter of life and death. There was no bedding aisle at the Mega Mart, no memory foam sales event to look forward to. Every layer of your ancient bed was a testament to ingenuity and sheer, unrelenting effort. So as you prepare for the night, you turn your attention to your sleeping spot, not a bare patch of earth, but a meticulously crafted mattress of the Ice Age. The first layer you would seek, the foundational element, would be insulating plant material. You envision yourself gathering armfuls of dried grasses and leaves, not just any random vegetation, but carefully selected species. You'd know which grasses were softest, which dried to form a springy, resilient cushion, and perhaps even which possessed a faint, pleasant scent. You might feel the dry, brittle stalks in your hands as you break them off, the faint rustle they make like a whispered secret. This isn't just about cushioning. It's about creating an air-filled barrier, a natural insulation layer that separates your body from the cold earth. Think of it as the original, organic futon, painstakingly assembled by hand. The process of preparing this plant material was far from trivial. It wasn't just a matter of throwing down a few handfuls of straw. You'd need to gather significant quantities, enough to create a thick layer, perhaps 6 inches or more deep when compressed. This material would then need to be thoroughly dried, preventing mold and rot, and reducing any dampness that could chill you. You might see bundles of grasses hung in the sun, or spread out near the fire's warmth to cure, filling the air with the surprisingly sweet, hay-like aroma of drying vegetation. The tactile sensation of the dry grasses, their stalks firm yet pliable, would be familiar to your hands. The sounds of rustling as you arrange them, creating a gentle depression for your body, would be a calming prelude to sleep. This multi-layered approach was key, a testament to an intuitive understanding of thermal dynamics. Above the base layer of grasses, you might add other natural materials, perhaps a layer of soft moss, gathered from damp, shaded crevices, offering an even more yielding surface. You'd feel the springiness of it as you pressed down, noticing its absorbent quality, which would help draw away any moisture. Or maybe, depending on the season and local flora, you'd incorporate fragrant leaves or aromatic herbs. The faint, clean scent of crushed mint or the subtle bitterness of artemisia might drift up to you as you settle in, a natural aromatherapy for sleep. These weren't just for pleasant smells. They often served a dual purpose, as we will explore further, hinting at early understandings of natural pesticides. On top of this vegetal cushion, your most precious insulating materials would be laid: animal hides and furs. These weren't just for clothing, they were essential components of the ancient bedding system. Imagine the thick, luxurious feel of a bison hide, its shaggy fur providing incredible warmth, laid out with the fur side up to trap air and prevent heat loss. You'd run your hand over it, feeling the texture, the undeniable softness, a stark contrast to the rough world outside. Perhaps a softer, more pliable reindeer or deer hide would serve as a blanket, draped over your body, conforming to your contours. The smell of processed hide, slightly smoky and earthy, would be a constant, reassuring presence. Each hide would have been painstakingly cleaned, scraped, stretched, and often smoked or tanned to make it pliable and durable. This was no quick process. It was an investment of time and labor, a testament to the value placed on warmth and comfort. The mainstream historical fact here is that archaeological evidence from numerous sites around the world confirms the widespread use of plant materials and animal hides for bedding. Far from the myth of sleeping on bare rock, sites have yielded residues of grasses, reeds, and even identifiable plant species that suggest deliberately constructed sleeping platforms. This isn't just speculation, it's tangible proof, unearthed through meticulous excavation. This points to a consistent, widespread practice, adapted to local resources, but driven by a universal human need for warmth and security during sleep. Your understanding of their daily lives shifts from one of constant brutal hardship to one of remarkable adaptability and a persistent drive for basic comfort. Now for a quirky, perhaps slightly shocking, tidbit. While the use of fragrant plants might seem purely for comfort, many of the plants our ancestors would have incorporated into their bedding, such as certain species of grasses or aromatic herbs like camphor bush, found at sites like Sibudu Cave, possess natural insecticidal properties. This reveals an astonishing level of observational science. Our ancestors understood, through trial and error over millennia that certain plants not only provided a soft surface, but also helped to deter fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and other biting pests. You might feel a fleeting sense of gratitude that you don't have to rely on botanical bug spray for your nightly comfort, but also a deep respect for their ingenious, ancient bioengineering. There are no Yelp reviews for this bedding, but if there were, the pest control feature would definitely get 5 stars. Academics still debate the precise methods of bed making across different prehistoric cultures and climates. We can only speculate about the specific layering techniques, or whether certain plant combinations were favored for particular health or comfort benefits. Was there a preference for softer underlayers and coarser top layers, or vice versa? Did different clans have their own signature bedding recipes? These questions remain open, fueling the ongoing research that continues to redefine our understanding of daily life in the Ice Age. The effort involved in creating and maintaining these beds was continuous. The plant material would degrade, compact, or become infested over time, requiring regular replacement. You'd likely participate in the periodic refreshing of your bedding, feeling the satisfying exhaustion after a day spent gathering and arranging fresh materials. The hides would need to be aired out, perhaps cleaned or re-softened. This wasn't a one-time setup. It was an ongoing chore, a testament to the fact that comfort, even in the Ice Age, required consistent effort. But the reward was profound. A night of truly restorative sleep, safe from the biting cold of the ground and the irritation of unseen pests. Despite the hardships and the immense effort required, the ingenuity displayed in crafting these ancient beds highlights the incredible resilience of our ancestors. They didn't simply endure the cold. They actively engineered solutions to mitigate its effects, transforming a hostile environment into a surprisingly comfortable space. This proactive approach to comfort, this relentless pursuit of a good night's sleep, was a critical factor in their survival and flourishing. It allowed them to recover, to dream, and to wake refreshed, ready to face the challenges of another day in a world that demanded constant vigilance. As you imagine settling onto such a bed, feeling the rustle of the dry grasses, the comforting weight of a fur blanket, you realize that true comfort is not about luxury, but about ingenious adaptation. It's about making the best of what you have, and in doing so, mastering your environment one comfortable night at a time. Soft voices, sleepy stories, sweet dreams. You've experienced the surprising comfort of ancient bedding, feeling the springy grasses and the luxurious warmth of animal furs. Yet, even the thickest bedding and the warmest fire wouldn't be enough to guarantee a peaceful night if your sleep were constantly interrupted by tiny, persistent enemies. Imagine trying to rest while a swarm of mosquitoes buzzed relentlessly around your head, their bites leaving itchy welts. Or picture the insidious crawl of fleas and ticks, parasites that not only cause discomfort but also transmit diseases that could decimate a small, vulnerable clan. In a world without modern medicine, where even a simple infection could be fatal, pest control wasn't a matter of convenience. It was a matter of life and death. Your ancestors understood this intuitively, engaging in what could be called ancient insect warfare, employing ingenious strategies to keep their sleeping spaces free from unwelcome guests. There were no insect screens or bug zappers, no professional exterminators on call. Instead, they relied on a profound knowledge of the natural world and a knack for primitive bioengineering. As you settle onto your carefully constructed bed, you might detect a subtle yet distinct aroma emanating from the plant layers beneath you. This isn't just the scent of dried grass, it's a carefully curated botanical barrier. Your ancestors learned, through millennia of observation and trial and error, that certain plants possessed natural insecticidal or repellent properties. Think of species like the camphor bush, or various aromatic herbs with strong, pungent smells. They would gather these plants, perhaps crushing the leaves or stems to release their volatile compounds, and weave them into the bedding or scatter them liberally around the sleeping area. You might feel the slightly rough texture of a dried herb as you brush against it, releasing its faint, bitter scent into the air. This natural pesticide would create an invisible force field, deterring biting insects and other arthropods from invading your personal space. It's a testament to their sophisticated understanding of ethnobotany, long before such a science was formalized. Beyond the use of specific plants, imagine the sheer physical effort involved in maintaining a pest-free environment. Your ancestors would have engaged in regular, meticulous cleaning of their living spaces. This isn't about scrubbing floors with disinfectant. It's about sweeping out debris, removing food scraps that could attract vermin, and regularly replacing soiled or infested bedding material. You might see evidence of this daily chore. A worn animal bone used as a scraper, a bundle of twigs serving as a rudimentary broom. The sounds of sweeping, of rustling debris being pushed towards the entrance, would be a common background noise. This constant vigilance was key. A quick glance around your modern bedroom, perhaps with dust bunnies under the bed and a forgotten snack wrapper on the nightstand, highlights just how much we rely on the invisible infrastructure of sanitation and pest control. For your ancestors, every single crumb was a potential beacon for unwelcome visitors. One mainstream historical fact that supports this ingenuity is the remarkable discovery at Sibudu Cave in South Africa. Here, archaeologists uncovered evidence of sophisticated, layered bedding materials dating back as far as 77,000 years ago. What was truly astonishing was the presence of aromatic plants like the camphor bush, not just randomly present, but specifically incorporated into the bedding layers. Chemical analysis confirmed the presence of insecticidal compounds within these plant residues. This is not just theoretical, it is concrete archaeological proof of ancient pest control strategies. This discovery completely shattered the long-held myth of the primitive, unhygienic caveman, revealing an advanced level of foresight and practical science. You might wonder, looking at this evidence, if they held ancient bedbug exterminator conventions. A quirky, perhaps unsettling, tidbit related to this early pest control is the likely integration of fire into the strategy. While fire was primarily for warmth and cooking, the smoke generated from the hearth would have also served as a natural insect repellent. Imagine the air thick with wood smoke, a pervasive scent that, while comforting, also made the dwelling less appealing to flying insects. Furthermore, the heat from the fire would create an unfavorable environment for many ground-dwelling pests. It's conceivable that periodically, sections of the bedding or even the entire dwelling might have been smoked out or briefly heated to extremes to kill off lingering infestations. You might feel the warmth of the fire on your face and simultaneously the faint, acrid bite of the smoke in your nose, understanding its dual purpose. There was no argument over turning down the fire. It was a multifunctional tool for survival. Academics still debate the precise efficacy of these ancient methods and the full range of plants used across different geographical locations. We can only speculate about whether specific plant combinations were more effective against particular types of pests, or if the efficacy varied seasonally. Was it a constant battle, or did they achieve relatively pest-free environments for extended periods? These nuanced questions continue to drive research, piecing together the complex mosaic of ancient daily life. What is clear, however, is that they didn't simply accept infestations as an unavoidable part of life. They actively combated them. Beyond plants and smoke, the very communal nature of their existence might have played a role in pest management. Grooming, a social activity common in many primate species, would have been essential. Imagine family members meticulously picking fleas or lice from each other's hair and clothing. This wasn't just about personal hygiene. It was a shared responsibility, a community effort to minimize parasite loads. You might feel the gentle tug on your hair as someone inspects it, a familiar ritual that strengthens the bonds of the clan while simultaneously keeping the parasites at bay. This human resilience in the face of microscopic adversaries is remarkable. The constant battle against pests was a subtle but profound driver of innovation. It pushed our ancestors to observe their environment more closely, to understand the interactions between plants, animals, and their own bodies. It fostered a practical form of scientific inquiry, where efficacy was measured not in laboratory results, but in the absence of itching, the presence of undisturbed sleep, and ultimately, the health of the community. This continuous effort to create a comfortable, pest-free sleeping environment allowed them to recover fully from the strenuous demands of daily life, to dream undisturbed, and to wake refreshed, ready to face the challenges of a world where every advantage counted. Your appreciation for your own bug-free home, and perhaps even for that simple insect screen on your window, takes on a whole new dimension when you consider the ingenious, ongoing struggle of your ancient kin. Ancient stories, deeper sleep. Having journeyed through the clever architectural design of ancient shelters and the ingenious methods of pest control, your mind now rests on a truly revolutionary discovery that unequivocally proves the sophistication of Ice Age comfort: the bedding found at Sibudu Cave. Imagine yourself in southeastern South Africa, surrounded by the dramatic landscape of KwaZulu-Natal, where rolling hills meet deep river valleys. The air carries the faint, earthy scent of ancient soil, mixed with the unique aroma of the local flora. This isn't just any cave. Sibudu Cave is an archaeological treasure trove, a window into a past far more advanced than conventional wisdom once allowed. As you mentally enter Sibudu Cave, picture the meticulous work of the archaeologists, scraping away layers of sediment, each one representing thousands of years of human occupation. It's painstaking work, often done with dental tools and paintbrushes, a testament to the fragile nature of the evidence they seek. You might hear the quiet rasp of a brush against ancient earth, the hushed voices of researchers discussing a faint discoloration in the soil, a subtle hint of something remarkable hidden beneath. What they uncovered beneath these layers wasn't just evidence of occupation, but direct, undeniable proof of sophisticated bedding. This wasn't just a random scattering of plant material. It was a deliberately constructed, multi-layered sleeping mat. The bedding at Sibudu Cave, dating back an astonishing 77,000 years, represents the earliest known evidence of consistent, intentional bedding used by humans. Think about that time frame, 77 millennia. To put it in perspective, the pyramids of Giza are only around 4,500 years old. This discovery pushes back our understanding of human ingenuity, comfort, and domesticity by tens of thousands of years. It debunks, with stunning clarity, the enduring myth of the brutish, unthinking caveman, replacing it with the image of a resourceful, intelligent ancestor who actively sought to improve their quality of life. You might feel a thrill of recognition, realizing that the fundamental human desire for comfort and a good night's sleep is an ancient, enduring trait. The archaeological team, led by Professor Lynn Wadley, meticulously analyzed the layers. They found distinct layers of compacted plant material, primarily grasses and sedges. This suggests that these weren't merely opportunistic piles of leaves, but intentionally gathered and arranged bedding. Imagine the tactile sensation of digging through the earth and uncovering these ancient layers, recognizing the faint outlines of woven or matted plant fibers. Below these plant layers, they found evidence of sand, which likely served as a base, providing drainage and an even surface. This layering is crucial. It demonstrates an understanding of insulation and comfort. It's a primitive, yet highly effective design principle that parallels modern mattress construction. A soft top layer, a supportive middle, and a stable base. But the most astonishing aspect of the Sibudu bedding, and a critical piece of mainstream historical fact, was the discovery of specific plant species incorporated into the layers. Researchers identified leaves from the Cryptocarya woodii tree, commonly known as the river wild quince or camphor bush. This tree is known to contain natural compounds that are toxic to insects, particularly mosquitoes, lice, and flies. The leaves, when crushed or bruised, release these volatile compounds. The presence of these leaves, often singed, suggests they were deliberately placed within the bedding layers. Furthermore, analysis of the microscopic residues revealed that these leaves were refreshed and burnt periodically, a clear indication of ongoing maintenance and pest control. You might catch a whiff of the faint, almost medicinal scent that would have permeated these ancient beds, a natural repellent against unseen dangers. This sophisticated pest control is a quirky, yet profoundly important tidbit. It shows that our ancestors weren't simply reacting to discomfort, they were proactively preventing it. They understood, through generations of observation and empirical knowledge, the properties of the plants around them. They knew which ones offered comfort, which ones offered warmth, and crucially, which ones offered protection from disease-carrying insects. This is empirical science in its earliest form, long before the advent of formal laboratories or published research papers. There was no argument over which bug spray was best. The answer was literally woven into their sleeping arrangements. The implications for human resilience are immense. Being able to sleep relatively undisturbed by biting insects, especially in a region prone to malaria and other vector-borne diseases, would have significantly reduced the incidence of illness and improved overall health. A healthy, well-rested population is more productive, more resilient to environmental stresses, and better equipped to survive. The ability to minimize disease transmission allowed these ancient communities to thrive in challenging environments. It allowed them to recover from the strenuous physical demands of hunting and gathering, ensuring they woke up energized for the next day's challenges. You imagine the peaceful slumber of these ancient people, free from the incessant itching and buzzing, knowing that their ingenuity was providing them with a profound advantage. Academics continue to explore the exact mechanisms of how these plant compounds were released and their full spectrum of efficacy. We can only speculate about whether they were crushed by body weight during sleep, or if the warmth of the body or nearby fire helped to volatilize the compounds. There's also ongoing debate about whether the periodic burning of the bedding was solely for sanitation, or if it also helped to release concentrated plumes of smoke for a more immediate bug-repellent effect. These nuanced questions reveal the depth of investigation into our ancestors' daily lives, showing that what might seem simple was often incredibly complex. The sensory immersion in this ancient sleeping arrangement is paramount. Feel the resilient springiness of the compacted grasses, the cool give of the sand beneath, and the subtle, almost herbal scent of the camphor bush leaves. Hear the soft rustle of the bedding as you shift, a gentle sound that signals comfort and security. You understand that this isn't just a static archaeological find. It's a living testament to human ingenuity. The ability to create a warm, dry, and relatively pest-free sleeping environment in the heart of the Ice Age was not a luxury. It was a fundamental innovation that propelled our species forward. It speaks volumes about the human drive for comfort, a drive that, even in the harshest of conditions, fostered profound advancements. This discovery from Sibudu Cave doesn't just rewrite history. It deepens our appreciation for the enduring spirit of human adaptation. So before this great story continues, please take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you're enjoying our journey together. Your support means the world. Let the past sing you to sleep. From the sophisticated bedding of Sibudu Cave, we journey now to another revolutionary archaeological site, one that offers a unique glimpse into the domestic arrangements of our ancestors. Ohalo II. Imagine yourself on the southwestern shore of the Sea of Galilee in present-day Israel. This landscape, while perhaps less dramatic than the rugged South African veldt, holds its own ancient secrets. The air here, even today, can be dry and warm, carrying the scent of dust and ancient water. What makes Ohalo II so extraordinary is its exceptional preservation. This site, submerged for millennia beneath the waters of the lake, was only exposed during a severe drought in the 1980s. The anoxic, or oxygen poor, conditions underwater created a natural time capsule, preserving organic materials that would normally decay without a trace. You might feel a profound sense of awe as you imagine stepping onto this ancient shoreline, knowing that you are walking where humans lived 23,000 years ago, seeing evidence almost perfectly preserved. As you mentally step into the excavated areas of Ohalo II, the scene before you is remarkably vivid. Unlike many sites where only stone tools or bone fragments remain, here you can see the faint but discernible outlines of huts, the hearths within them, and critically, the plant materials that formed their bedding. It's like peering through a shimmering veil directly into a domestic scene from the Upper Paleolithic period. You can almost hear the quiet murmurs of a family, the crackle of a fire, the gentle rustle of bedding as someone adjusts their position. The ground beneath your feet, now exposed, is no longer the soft mud of the lake bed, but the surprisingly intact remnants of ancient living floors. The Ohalo II site, dating back approximately 23,000 years, reveals evidence of 6 oval-shaped huts, each meticulously constructed. These weren't simply temporary encampments. They were built with a clear understanding of stability and shelter. The remains of post holes, where wooden poles once stood, indicate a framework. Over this framework, organic materials like reeds and branches would have been woven or layered to form walls and roofs. You might feel the imagined smoothness of a bundled reed, or the rough texture of a branch, understanding how these natural elements were transformed into architectural components. This level of architectural planning and execution clearly debunks the myth of the nomadic, improvisational hunter-gatherer who only used natural rock shelters. Here, humans were actively shaping their environment, building their homes from the ground up. Within these huts, the most compelling evidence for our understanding of ancient comfort lies around the hearths. Here, archaeologists found dense concentrations of burned and unburned plant remains, specifically identified as wild barley, wheat, and oat seeds and stems. These weren't just food scraps. Their concentration and arrangement indicated they were deliberately used as bedding. Imagine running your hand over the tiny, hardened grains, feeling the remnants of ancient plant fibers that once cushioned the bodies of your ancestors. The discovery of these specific cereal grasses, precursors to domesticated crops, reveals a profound knowledge of local flora and its properties. They understood not only which plants were edible, but also which provided the best insulation and cushioning for a good night's sleep. This use of wild cereals for bedding is a fascinating mainstream historical fact. It demonstrates a sophisticated understanding of material properties. Wild barley and wheat stems, when dried, become springy and resilient, forming an excellent insulating layer that traps air and separates the sleeper from the cold, damp ground. Moreover, These particular plants would have been abundant in the region, providing a readily available and renewable resource for bedding. The smell of these dried grasses, a faint, sweet, hay-like aroma, would have permeated the interior of the huts, adding to the sensory experience of ancient domesticity. Now for a quirky, thought-provoking tidbit. The presence of burned plant remains within the bedding layers at Ohalo II. While some burning could be accidental, from sparks flying from the nearby hearth, the consistent pattern of burning suggests a deliberate act. This could have served multiple purposes: to clear out old, compacted, or pest-infested bedding, creating a fresh, clean surface, or perhaps to sterilize the sleeping area, killing off parasites and bacteria through heat. Imagine the smell of smoldering plant material, a sharp, smoky scent, followed by the fresh, clean aroma of new bedding being laid down. This acts as further evidence of intentional management of their living spaces, showing that they actively maintained a clean and healthy environment for sleep. There was no spring cleaning in the modern sense, but there was a systematic process of refreshing their sleeping quarters. The scholarly context for Ohalo II often focuses on its implications for the origins of agriculture. While the site predates the full domestication of cereals, the intensive use of wild barley and wheat for food and bedding highlights a deep human interaction with these plants. This challenges the long-held notion that hunter-gatherers were simply passive consumers of nature. Instead, it suggests a profound, active relationship with plant resources, setting the stage for the eventual transition to agriculture. We can only speculate about how many generations it took to fully understand the life cycle and properties of these plants, but the evidence at Ohalo II points to a long and intimate learning process. The human resilience evident at Ohalo II is profound. Living by a lake, while providing access to resources like fish and fresh water, also presented challenges, including potential dampness and a different array of pests than those found in drier cave environments. Yet our ancestors adapted, building structures specifically suited to their lakeside setting and developing bedding strategies that ensured warmth and hygiene. They transformed a potentially challenging environment into a productive and comfortable home. You might look at the remnants of these ancient huts and feel a surge of admiration for their ingenuity, their determination to create comfort even in the face of environmental obstacles. The ability to create comfortable, dry, and clean sleeping areas was paramount to their survival and thriving. It allowed them to recover fully from the day's foraging and hunting, ensuring they woke up energized and ready to face the world. The preserved bedding at Ohalo II is not just a scientific curiosity. It's a profound statement about the deep-seated human need for a good night's sleep. It underscores the fact that even tens of thousands of years ago, humanity was not just surviving, but actively seeking out and creating comfort. As you drift deeper into relaxation, imagine the quiet comfort of those ancient beds, hearing the gentle sounds of the lake, feeling the soft texture of the wild grains, and appreciating the deep history of human ingenuity that allowed for such peaceful slumber. This is where history whispers you to sleep. Having explored the meticulous construction of ancient bedding and the sophisticated pest control strategies evident at sites like Sibudu and Ohalo II. Let's now shift our focus to the absolute cornerstone of Ice Age survival and comfort: fire. You've already felt its radiating warmth from the central hearth, smelled its pervasive smoke, and heard its steady crackle. But understanding fire in the context of ancient comfort goes far beyond simple warmth. It reveals a profound mastery of physics, chemistry, and environmental control that our ancestors achieved tens of thousands of years ago. Imagine a world without central heating, without electric blankets, without even a match. Your very survival, your ability to sleep through a freezing night, depended entirely on your ability to create, control, and sustain a fire. As you sit by the ancient hearth, the flames dance hypnotically, painting the cave walls with moving shadows. You feel the intense heat on your face, a stark contrast to the coolness just a few feet away. This isn't a bonfire for show, it's a meticulously managed heat source. Your ancestors weren't just throwing logs onto a pile. They understood the nuances of combustion, airflow, and fuel types. They knew that different woods burned at different rates, produced different amounts of heat, and even emitted different scents. You might smell the sweet, resinous aroma of pine, or the denser, more enduring smell of oak or birch. The sounds of the fire are constant: the gentle hiss of sap evaporating, the sharper pop of a burning knot, the low, steady roar of well-fed flames. One of the most critical applications of fire for ancient comfort was its role in sophisticated thermal regulation. It wasn't just about making the immediate vicinity warm. Your ancestors strategically placed fires within caves or structures to maximize heat retention and distribution. In a cave, the fire might be positioned near the entrance to draw in fresh air and push out stale smoke, while still allowing the heat to radiate inwards, warming the rock walls that would then slowly release their stored heat throughout the night. In constructed huts, the central hearth was designed to radiate heat outwards, warming the entire enclosure. This demonstrates an intuitive understanding of convection and radiation, long before these terms existed. You might feel the subtle currents of warm air circulating, a testament to their clever placement. There's no thermostat to argue over, but there's a constant, careful adjustment of fuel and airflow to maintain the perfect ambient temperature. Beyond direct warmth, fire provided several other critical elements of comfort and security. Its light, however flickering and dim by modern standards, pushed back the oppressive darkness, deterring nocturnal predators and providing a psychological sense of safety. You'd instinctively feel less vulnerable with the warm glow surrounding you, knowing that any approaching creature would be silhouetted against the flames. The sounds of the fire also served as a constant, comforting presence, masking the unsettling noises of the wild outside. The crackle and hiss would become a part of your ancient lullaby, a natural white noise machine that calmed your primal anxieties. A mainstream historical fact about fire is its transformative power over food. Cooking made otherwise inedible or difficult to digest foods palatable and nutritious. Roasting meat over an open flame not only killed parasites, but also broke down tough fibers, making it easier to chew and digest. This meant more efficient nutrient absorption, which in turn provided more energy to maintain body heat in freezing conditions. Imagine the aroma of roasting meat, a primal, mouth-watering smell that signals sustenance and warmth. You might taste the faint smokiness on your tongue, even when you're not actively eating. This nutritional benefit was crucial for maintaining the metabolic furnace of the human body. Now for a quirky, perhaps slightly unsettling, tidbit about fire: its use in deterring large predators. While the light and activity around a fire might keep some animals away, larger, more aggressive predators like cave bears or saber-toothed cats might have been more persistent. It's speculated that early humans used fire not just passively, but actively. They might have hurled flaming brands or set small, controlled fires at the entrance of caves to create a temporary, fiery barrier. You might feel a primal thrill of fear, and then relief at the thought of fire as your ultimate protector, a weapon against the terrors of the night. This takes keeping warm to an entirely different level, transforming a comfort tool into a defensive one. There was no burglar alarm for the ancient world, but a roaring fire served a similar purpose. Academics still debate the precise timeline of when different hominin species achieved mastery over fire, not just using natural fires, but creating them at will. While some evidence suggests controlled fire use hundreds of thousands of years ago, the consistent, widespread use for warmth, cooking, and social cohesion likely developed much later. We can only speculate about the exact techniques used for fire starting across different regions, whether it was friction-based methods like fire drills or percussion-based methods like striking flint against pyrite. What is clear, however, is that once mastered, fire became an indispensable tool, profoundly altering human existence and our ability to survive in diverse, challenging environments. The human resilience shown in the mastery of fire is immense. It allowed our ancestors to expand their habitable zones, moving into colder, previously uninhabitable regions of the planet. It provided a consistent source of warmth, enabling deeper and more restorative sleep. It prolonged their waking hours, allowing for more time for tool making, social bonding, and strategic planning. The flickering light of the ancient hearth wasn't just a physical warmth. It was a symbol of human ingenuity, adaptability, and the relentless drive to bend the environment to their will. You close your eyes, feeling the gentle pulse of the fire, hearing its soft crackle, and understanding that this ancient glow was not just light, but life itself, allowing your ancestors to drift through time and dream through history. You felt the profound warmth of the hearth and the security of your ancient shelter, a sanctuary against the biting cold. But what happens when you must venture outside, away from the radiant heat of the fire and the protective walls of your home? The Ice Age world doesn't pause its frigid assault just because you need to hunt for food, gather water, or scout new territories. This is where another unsung hero of ancient comfort emerges: sophisticated clothing. The image of a simple, loosely draped animal hide is yet another myth we can comfortably debunk tonight. Your ancestors were master tailors, engineers of portable comfort, crafting garments that were not just functional but meticulously designed for extreme cold. There were no fashion trends to follow, No fast fashion cycles, just the imperative of survival dictating every stitch and cut. You wouldn't last a day in their world without the right gear, let alone a freezing night. As you imagine preparing for a journey outside, you feel the weight and texture of your own ancient attire. This isn't a single, crude skin. It's a multi-layered system, carefully constructed from various animal materials. The first layer against your skin might be soft, finely tanned leather or even woven plant fibers, designed to wick away moisture and provide a basic level of warmth. Over this, you'd pull on trousers and a tunic, perhaps made from thicker hides like deer or reindeer, cut and sewn to fit your body closely, minimizing air drafts. You might feel the slight stiffness of the treated leather, the way it moves with your body, a second skin against the cold. The scent of treated animal hide, perhaps subtly smoky from preservation, would be a constant, reassuring presence. The true genius lay in the outer layers and accessories. Imagine a thick, shaggy fur coat, perhaps from a wolf, bear, or even a smaller, densely furred animal like a wolverine. This coat wouldn't just be draped, it would be tailored, with sleeves and a hood, designed to provide maximum insulation. You'd feel the incredible depth of the fur, its softness against your face as you pulled the hood close, forming a vital barrier against the wind. The sound of your movements would be muffled by the thick fur, a soft rustle that accompanies your every step. These furs were exceptional insulators, trapping a layer of warm air close to the body, preventing heat loss. But the clothing system extended beyond the main garments. Your hands and feet, particularly vulnerable to frostbite, would be meticulously protected. You'd wear mittens, perhaps made of rabbit fur or layered hide, offering warmth and dexterity. On your feet, you'd have sturdy, layered boots, constructed from thick hide with fur or plant insulation inside. You can feel the satisfying crunch of snow beneath your well-insulated boots, knowing that your extremities are protected. These weren't just random wraps. They were often sewn together with sinew or tough plant fibers, using bone needles, a testament to intricate craftsmanship. The mainstream historical fact is that archaeological findings, including bone needles and awls, and microscopic analysis of animal bones showing cut marks consistent with hide processing for clothing, provide strong evidence for tailored clothing dating back tens of thousands of years. This indicates a sophisticated understanding of material manipulation and design, far beyond simple draping. A quirky, perhaps surprising, tidbit is the potential use of specific animal parts for their unique insulating properties. For instance, the hollow hairs of reindeer fur or the dense underfur of Arctic foxes provided superior insulation compared to many other animals. Our ancestors would have understood these differences through practical experience, selecting specific furs for different parts of their garments based on their insulating value. Imagine collecting individual pieces of fur, knowing that each one had a specific purpose in your overall insulation system. It's like sophisticated textile engineering, but using naturally occurring materials. There was no performance fabric aisle at the ancient market, just the raw materials and generations of learned wisdom. Another crucial aspect of their clothing was its versatility. Layers could be added or removed depending on activity level and external temperature, preventing overheating during strenuous activity and ensuring warmth during periods of rest. This layering system is a fundamental principle of modern cold weather gear, yet it was mastered by our ancestors millennia ago. You might find yourself adjusting a toggle on your cloak or loosening a hide belt, fine-tuning your comfort level with an intuitive precision. The scholarly context here involves ongoing debates about the precise origins and evolution of clothing. While the earliest direct evidence for tailored garments is around 30,000 years old, indirect evidence, such as the spread of modern humans into colder climates or the presence of body lice, which thrive in clothing, suggests that clothing may have originated much earlier, perhaps over 100,000 years ago. We can only speculate about the appearance and complexity of the very earliest forms of clothing, but the evidence points to a rapid development of sophisticated apparel once humans began consistently inhabiting colder regions. This challenges simplistic notions of early human appearance, suggesting our ancestors were far from naked in the cold. The human resilience demonstrated through their clothing is profound. Tailored garments allowed humans to survive and thrive in environments previously inaccessible, expanding their range across vast continents. It meant they could remain active and productive even in extreme cold, extending hunting seasons and allowing for longer foraging expeditions. Clothing was not just passive protection, it was an active enabler of survival and expansion. It allowed them to carry their comfort with them, transforming any location, however remote or frigid, into a potentially habitable space. As you consider the meticulous effort involved in making and maintaining these garments, the scraping of hides, the softening, the cutting, the intricate sewing with bone needles and sinew thread, you gain a deeper appreciation for their dedication to warmth and comfort. Each piece of clothing was a testament to hours of labor, a vital investment in their well-being. This wasn't merely about fashion or adornment. It was about the fundamental human drive to protect oneself, to innovate, and to conquer the harsh realities of the natural world. You feel the deep, encompassing warmth of your ancient clothes, a reassuring embrace that allows you to face the wilderness, knowing that wherever you go, a measure of comfort travels with you. Drift through time, dream through history. You've armored yourself in layers of ingenious ancient clothing, feeling the portable comfort that allows you to face the world beyond your shelter. But what if the very concept of shelter itself could be taken to an unimaginable scale, built not from mere timber and hide, but from the colossal bones of Ice Age giants? This is where our understanding of ancient engineering truly soars, taking us far beyond simple lean-tos and into the realm of monumental architecture constructed from the remains of mammoths. Imagine a landscape, vast and treeless, perhaps a windswept steppe where wood is a rare and precious commodity. Here, the very bones of the enormous creatures that roamed these plains became the foundational elements of human homes, transforming the remnants of a hunt into the walls of a sanctuary. This is where the ingenuity of your ancestors reaches its zenith, demonstrating an ability to repurpose and engineer on a scale that defies the conventional image of primitive humanity. As you approach such a dwelling, the first thing that strikes you is its sheer size and the awe-inspiring material from which it is constructed. Picture a circular or oval structure, perhaps 10 to 15 feet in diameter, rising majestically from the flat landscape. But instead of logs or branches, the framework consists of massive, curving mammoth tusks, interlocked and anchored into the ground, forming a dome-like or conical skeleton. Between these, enormous leg bones, pelvises, and shoulder blades of mammoths are meticulously stacked, creating thick, insulating walls. You can almost feel the surprising smoothness and immense weight of a mammoth femur as you touch it, observing how neatly it slots into place, a testament to careful selection and placement. The sheer effort involved in transporting, lifting, and arranging these bones is staggering, hinting at a level of communal organization and engineering prowess that rivals later, more celebrated ancient civilizations. There were no cranes, no heavy machinery, just human muscle, ingenuity, and perhaps a system of ropes and levers. The exterior of these mammoth bone houses would have been further insulated. Imagine layers of hide stretched over the bone framework, sewn together with sinew, creating a taut, wind-proof skin. Over this, earth, sod, and even snow would have been piled, forming a thick, insulating mound that blended seamlessly with the landscape. You might feel the damp, cool earth as you press your hand against the outer wall, understanding its crucial role in trapping the warmth generated within. The scent would be a mix of earth, old bone, and the faint, gamey smell of cured hides, mingled with the ever-present aroma of wood smoke from the central hearth. Stepping inside, the space would feel surprisingly spacious and remarkably warm. The thick walls of bone, earth, and hide would provide exceptional insulation, creating a stable microclimate distinct from the frigid world outside. The sound inside would be muffled, the external howling winds reduced to a distant whisper. You'd notice the internal structure, how the massive bones form a sturdy frame, perhaps with smaller bones and antlers used as supports or hooks for hanging items. The ground would be covered with the familiar layers of bedding, grasses, and furs, creating a soft, warm floor. This wasn't just a shelter, it was a home, a meticulously crafted environment designed for sustained human habitation. One mainstream historical fact that highlights the incredible nature of these structures is the discovery of numerous mammoth bone dwellings across the Eurasian steppe, particularly in what is now Ukraine. Sites like Mezhyrich, dating back around 15,000 years, have yielded remarkably preserved examples of these homes, complete with hearths, sleeping areas, and even storage pits. These aren't isolated finds. They are consistent archaeological patterns that demonstrate a widespread and sophisticated architectural tradition. This evidence completely shatters the stereotype of the primitive, unthinking hunter-gatherer, revealing instead resourceful engineers who adapted to their environment using the most abundant and durable materials available. You might feel a thrill of understanding, realizing that the human drive to build and create goes back far, far into our past. A quirky and somewhat shocking tidbit relates to the sheer number of mammoths required for these structures. Some of the larger dwellings at Mezhirich utilize the bones of dozens of individual mammoths. Imagine the scale of hunting required, or perhaps, more likely, the meticulous collection of bones from naturally deceased animals over extended periods. This wasn't just building, it was an act of profound environmental engagement, turning the colossal remains of their ancient world into the very fabric of their homes. You might touch a colossal rib bone and ponder the immense effort involved, not just in building, but in the long-term planning and collective memory required to gather such a vast quantity of raw materials. There was no Home Depot to buy materials. Everything had to be sourced directly from the environment, often after immense physical effort. The scholarly context for mammoth bone houses often revolves around the debates concerning human-animal interaction and the development of complex social structures. We can only speculate about the precise methods used for bone transportation, whether it involved sledges, rolling techniques, or coordinated human chains. Furthermore, the sheer scale of these constructions implies a high degree of social organization, planning, and leadership within these ancient communities. Did a single leader direct the construction, or was it a collaborative, community-wide effort based on inherited knowledge? These questions continue to fuel academic discussion, pushing us to reconsider the complexity of Ice Age societies. The human resilience displayed in the creation of mammoth bone houses is nothing short of extraordinary. In environments where wood was scarce, our ancestors didn't simply give up and freeze. Instead, they innovated, repurposing the most formidable creatures of their world into the components of their survival. This adaptability, this relentless drive to find solutions, is a hallmark of the human spirit. It allowed them to establish permanent or semi-permanent settlements in some of the most challenging environments on Earth, providing stable bases for hunting and foraging, and crucially, allowing for consistent, quality sleep. These homes were fortresses against the cold, allowing communities to not just endure, but to thrive and reproduce, passing on their incredible knowledge to future generations. As you stand within the imagined walls of a mammoth bone house, feeling the deep silence of its insulated interior, you understand that this was more than just a place to escape the elements. It was a testament to the power of collective effort, a monument to human ingenuity, and a profound example of how our ancestors transformed the most daunting aspects of their environment into sources of comfort and security. You look around at the curving tusks that form the roof, the massive bones that make up the walls, and you realize that even in the Ice Age, humanity was building not just for survival, but for a good night's sleep. Ancient stories, deeper sleep. You have marveled at the monumental architecture of mammoth bone houses, recognizing the incredible ingenuity required to construct shelters on such a scale. But even the most perfectly insulated dwelling, the thickest fur, and the warmest fire can only do so much. The ultimate furnace against the biting cold of the Ice Age was not external, it was internal. Your body, your very metabolism, was a finely tuned machine, constantly burning fuel to generate heat and keep you alive. And that fuel, my friend, came directly from your diet. Imagine trying to survive a freezing night on an empty stomach, or worse, after a meal of watery broth. You wouldn't just be uncomfortable, you'd be actively fighting a losing battle against hypothermia, your body shivering uncontrollably as it struggled to maintain its core temperature. There was no hot cocoa or instant ramen to warm you from the inside out. Every calorie counted. Every meal was a strategic investment in survival. As you consider your ancient self, you understand that food was not just sustenance. It was thermal regulation. The air you breathed, the ground you walked on, the water you drank, everything around you was constantly drawing heat from your body. To counteract this relentless drain, you needed a steady, high-octane fuel supply. And for your Ice Age ancestors, that fuel was overwhelmingly derived from animals. You can almost feel the satisfying weight of a piece of roasted meat in your hand, the grease still warm against your fingers, knowing that every bite is not just delicious, but life-giving warmth. The smell of cooking meat, rich and savory, would have been a constant, comforting presence around the communal hearth, a primal aroma of survival. The cornerstone of the Ice Age diet was undoubtedly protein and, crucially, fat. Animals like mammoths, woolly rhinoceroses, bison, reindeer, and wild horses provided abundant sources. Imagine the taste of rich, fatty meat, perhaps slightly charred on the outside from the fire, succulent and nourishing on the inside. This wasn't lean, factory-farmed chicken breast. This was muscle, organ, and fat, all consumed to extract every possible calorie. You would instinctively prioritize the fattiest cuts, knowing that fat, gram for gram, provides more than twice the energy of carbohydrates or protein. The act of eating wasn't a casual affair. It was a focused, almost ritualistic process of absorbing warmth and energy. Consider the immense effort involved in acquiring this food. You wouldn't be simply strolling to a grocery store. Every meal was the culmination of arduous hunting, tracking, stalking, and often a dangerous confrontation with a large, powerful animal. You might feel the lingering ache in your muscles from a long day's hunt, a satisfying tiredness that would soon be alleviated by the incoming calories. The sound of a butchered carcass, the rhythmic scraping of stone tools against bone, would be familiar, almost comforting sounds, signaling an abundance that meant survival for the coming days. There was no such thing as fast food for your ancestors, only hard-won, life-sustaining nourishment. The sheer quantity of fat consumed is a mainstream historical fact, supported by isotopic analysis of ancient human bones and the archaeological evidence of marrow extraction from long bones. Our ancestors didn't just eat the meat. They painstakingly cracked open bones to extract the nutrient-dense marrow, a rich source of fat and calories. They would render animal fat, perhaps by gently heating it over the fire, producing a potent, energy-rich oil that could be consumed directly or used to preserve meat. You might taste the slightly gamey, unctuous flavor of rendered fat, a pure burst of energy on your tongue. This was their energy drink, their high-calorie supplement, and their internal furnace all in one. Without this dense energy source, maintaining body temperature in sub-zero conditions would have been almost impossible, leading to rapid metabolic decline and ultimately death. A quirky, perhaps shocking, tidbit about their diet: the importance of organ meats. While Hollywood often depicts our ancestors gnawing on a bone, they would have prized and consumed almost every part of an animal, including the liver, kidneys, brain, and heart. These organs are incredibly nutrient-dense, packed with vitamins, minerals, and healthy fats that would be vital for overall health and energy production in such a challenging environment. Imagine the slightly metallic taste of fresh liver, or the rich texture of a brain, knowing that these parts were often consumed raw or lightly cooked to preserve their delicate nutritional value. This highlights a pragmatic, no-waste approach to food that contrasts sharply with much of modern dietary habits. There were no dislikes on an ancient menu. You ate what was available, and you ate it all. While animal products formed the bulk of their diet, plant foods also played a role, albeit a seasonal and often less calorically dense one. Roots, tubers, wild berries, and certain nuts would be gathered when available. Imagine the slightly sweet, earthy taste of a wild root, or the burst of tartness from a handful of berries. These provided essential vitamins and minerals, as well as some carbohydrates. However, for sheer energy to combat the cold, they relied heavily on fat and protein. The ability to efficiently convert food into internal heat was a metabolic superpower that allowed them to thrive. Scholarly debates continue regarding the precise dietary composition of different Ice Age human groups. Did Neanderthals consume more meat than early Homo sapiens? How much did diet vary based on region and the availability of specific megafauna or plant resources? We can only speculate about the exact daily caloric intake required to maintain body temperature in different climates, but the evidence points to a consistent, high-energy diet essential for survival. Researchers use sophisticated techniques, like analyzing stable isotopes in ancient human bones, to reconstruct these dietary patterns, painting a detailed picture of their ancient diets. The human resilience demonstrated through their dietary strategies is profound. They didn't just eat, they mastered the art of fueling their internal furnace. Their deep knowledge of animal behavior, their skill in hunting, butchering, and preserving meat, and their understanding of nutritional density allowed them to extract maximum energy from their environment. This metabolic adaptability was just as crucial as any shelter or clothing. It meant they could generate consistent body heat, allowing for deeper, more restorative sleep, free from the involuntary shivering that drains energy. You close your eyes, feeling the warmth spread through your body after a satisfying ancient meal, appreciating the quiet hum of your own metabolism. This is the oldest, most fundamental form of comfort, deeply rooted in the food that sustained them, allowing them to drift through time and dream through history. You've explored the intricate layers of ancient comfort, from the meticulously crafted shelters and bedding, to the life-sustaining warmth generated by fire and nutrient-dense food. But there's another, often overlooked aspect of Ice Age survival that profoundly impacted the quality of sleep: the communal nature of rest. Imagine trying to sleep alone in the vast, dangerous wilderness of the Ice Age, with unseen predators lurking just beyond the flickering firelight and the constant threat of the elements. It's a terrifying prospect, one that would lead to restless, fractured sleep, fueled by anxiety. Your ancestors understood instinctively that there was strength and indeed warmth in numbers. Shared sleep was not merely a social custom. It was a fundamental strategy for security and comfort, fostering bonds that ensured collective survival. As you settle down for the night within your ancient dwelling, you are not alone. You can feel the warmth of other bodies nearby, hear their soft breathing, and the occasional shift as someone adjusts their position. The space, whether a cave or a constructed hut, is filled with the subtle sounds of shared rest. This proximity is both a physical and psychological comfort. Physically, it's a brilliant, natural heating system. Each human body radiates heat, and by huddling together, this heat is conserved, creating a collective warmth that significantly mitigates the biting cold. You might feel a gentle pressure against your side, the shared warmth of a child or another clan member, a comforting presence that radiates far more than just physical heat. There was no personal space, as you understand it. Intimate proximity was a feature, not a bug, of ancient comfort. Psychologically, sleeping in a group provides an unparalleled sense of security. Imagine the collective vigilance. While one person might be in a deep sleep, another might be stirring, or an elder might be maintaining a light watch over the fire. The sheer number of bodies means more ears to hear a distant sound, more eyes to detect a shadow. The collective response to a threat would be swifter and more effective than any single individual could manage. You might feel a deep, primal sense of reassurance, knowing that if danger were to approach, you would not face it alone. The distant sound of a predatory howl, which might otherwise trigger panic, is softened by the comforting presence of your sleeping clan. This shared awareness, even in slumber, allowed for deeper, more restorative rest. The sounds of communal sleep would be a symphony of life. The gentle snore of an elder, the soft whimpering of a dreaming child, the quiet whisper of a parent soothing a restless infant. These sounds, far from being irritating, would become a comforting backdrop, a natural white noise machine that signaled safety and companionship. You might find yourself drifting off to the rhythmic breathing of those around you, a primal lullaby that speaks of shared existence and mutual protection. There's no Yelp review for this dormitory, but the sense of collective security would earn it 5 stars. One mainstream historical fact that supports this idea of shared sleep and communal living is the widespread evidence of large hearths and communal activity areas in numerous Ice Age archaeological sites. These central gathering points suggest that daily life, including meal preparation, tool making, and indeed, sleeping, occurred in close proximity. The layout of these sites often indicates that multiple families or individuals shared a single large dwelling or a cluster of closely spaced smaller ones, fostering a highly interconnected community. This highlights that humans are fundamentally social creatures, and this sociality was a key component of their survival strategy, not just a cultural preference. A quirky, perhaps surprising, tidbit related to communal sleep: the concept of sentinel sleep. While direct evidence is hard to come by, Some theories suggest that in communal sleeping arrangements, individuals may adopt slightly different sleep patterns, with some maintaining a lighter sleep stage while others are in deep slumber. This distributed vigilance would ensure that at least one member of the group was always somewhat aware of their surroundings, enhancing overall safety. You might imagine an ancient night watch system, not formal, but instinctively coordinated through the subtle rhythms of group sleep. This collective awareness meant that everyone could afford to relax a little deeper into their rest, knowing others were implicitly sharing the burden of vigilance. Academics continue to debate the precise social dynamics of Ice Age groups, including the extent of kinship ties versus broader communal bonds. We can only speculate about the specific rules or customs governing sleeping arrangements. Were families always together? Were individuals assigned specific spots based on age or role? These nuanced questions reveal the complexity of reconstructing social life from archaeological remains. However, the evidence consistently points to groups living and sleeping in close proximity, suggesting that the benefits of shared warmth and security far outweigh any desire for individual privacy as we understand it today. The human resilience evident in shared sleep is profound. It allowed our ancestors to overcome the immense challenges of a hostile environment by leveraging the power of collective support. It meant that every member of the group, from the youngest infant to the oldest elder, contributed to the collective comfort and safety. This deep-seated sense of community, born from the necessities of survival, fostered an unbreakable bond among humans, laying the groundwork for all future social structures and collaborative endeavors. You close your eyes, feeling the gentle pulse of the fire's heat and the steady, comforting presence of your fellow humans. This shared sleep, this collective sigh of relief at the end of a perilous day, allowed your ancestors not just to dream, but to survive, to endure, and ultimately to become the architects of their own future. It allowed them to wake refreshed, ready to face another day in a world that demanded constant vigilance, but also offered the profound comfort of shared humanity. Where history whispers you to sleep, you've immersed yourself in the physical comforts engineered by our Ice Age ancestors. The ingenious shelters, the layered bedding, the life-giving fire, the warming food, and the profound security of shared sleep. Yet beyond these tangible innovations lies another crucial element that underpinned their survival and allowed for truly restorative rest: sheer psychological fortitude. Imagine living in a world constantly teetering on the edge of survival, where every day presented a fresh set of challenges: bitter cold, dangerous predators, uncertain food sources, and the ever-present threat of injury or illness. Without internal resilience, a mental toughness that allowed them to process stress, adapt to adversity, and maintain hope, no amount of physical comfort would have been enough. Your ancestors weren't just physically strong, they were mentally indomitable, capable of finding solace and calm amidst relentless uncertainty. There was no meditation app, no therapist's couch, just an innate ability to cope and persevere. As you consider your ancient self, you realize that the mind-body connection was paramount. Fear and anxiety are powerful enemies of sleep. If you were constantly on edge, listening for every snap of a twig, every distant howl, your body would remain in a state of hyperarousal, releasing stress hormones that would prevent deep, rejuvenating rest. So how did they manage this? Part of it came from the very structures of their life we've explored. The physical security of the shelter, the warmth of the fire, the communal vigilance of the group. These external factors provided a solid foundation upon which psychological comfort could be built. You might feel the lingering tension in your shoulders from a day of watchful hunting, slowly dissipating as you settle into the safety of the cave, allowing your mind to finally quiet. But beyond these external reassurances, there was an internal framework of coping mechanisms. Storytelling, for instance, played a critical role. Imagine gathering around the flickering hearth, the shadows dancing on the walls, as an elder recounts tales of successful hunts, brave ancestors, or the wisdom of the natural world. These narratives weren't just entertainment. They served as powerful psychological tools. They reinforced cultural values, provided lessons for survival, and offered a sense of continuity and meaning in a chaotic world. You might listen, captivated, feeling the ebb and flow of the narrative, allowing it to transport your mind away from the immediate anxieties of daily life. The rhythmic cadence of the storyteller's voice, the shared laughter or gasps of the audience, would create a collective psychological release, preparing the mind for sleep. There were no Netflix binges to distract you, just the ancient magic of a well-told story. Another vital aspect was their profound connection to and understanding of their environment. Unlike modern humans who often feel alienated from nature, your ancestors were deeply attuned to its rhythms. They understood the signs of weather, the patterns of animal migration, and the subtle changes in plant life. This knowledge, gained through generations of observation and lived experience, provided a sense of control and predictability in a seemingly unpredictable world. You would know when a storm was coming, where to find shelter, and which animals were likely to be in the vicinity. This deep ecological literacy reduced uncertainty, which in turn reduced anxiety. You might feel the damp coolness in the air before a snow, or sense the change in the wind's direction, a primal intuition that served as your ancient weather forecast. The role of ritual and belief also played a significant part in fostering psychological resilience. While we can only speculate about the specific spiritual practices of Ice Age humans, evidence of symbolic art, burials, and ornaments suggests a rich inner life and a connection to something beyond the mundane. These rituals, whether for hunting success, healing, or mourning, would have provided a framework for understanding their place in the world, offering solace and a sense of agency in the face of overwhelming natural forces. They would have provided a sense of meaning and purpose, reducing existential dread. You might close your eyes and visualize the ancient cave paintings, understanding them not just as art, but as powerful symbols of meaning and connection that brought comfort and context to their lives. A mainstream historical fact that supports the idea of psychological resilience is the artistic output of the Upper Paleolithic period, particularly the cave paintings of Lascaux and Chauvet, and the Venus figurines. These elaborate works of art, often created deep within caves, speak to a complex cognitive ability and a rich symbolic life. They are not merely crude depictions but sophisticated expressions of their world, their beliefs, and their aspirations. This artistic expression served as a psychological outlet, a means of processing experience, and a way to communicate profound meaning, contributing to their mental well-being and ability to cope. A quirky, perhaps surprising, tidbit: the potential for collective emotional regulation. In a close-knit communal setting, grief, fear, or joy were not experienced in isolation. The sharing of emotions, the collective grieving or celebrating, would have provided a powerful mechanism for processing intense feelings. You wouldn't carry your burdens alone. Imagine the sounds of shared lament after a loss, or the joyous sounds of celebration after a successful hunt. This collective emotional experience would prevent individuals from spiraling into despair, ensuring that the group remained psychologically robust. There was no need for a support group. The entire clan was one. Academics still debate the precise cognitive abilities and emotional landscape of Ice Age humans. We can only speculate about the prevalence of mental health challenges, such as anxiety or depression, in such demanding environments. However, the consistent evidence of their survival and flourishing over vast periods suggests that they possessed highly effective strategies for maintaining psychological well-being. This is an ongoing area of research, piecing together the subtle clues from archaeology to understand the inner lives of our ancient ancestors. The human resilience forged in the crucible of the Ice Age was not just physical, but profoundly psychological. It was the ability to adapt, to innovate, to find meaning and connection, and to process the inherent stresses of their world. This mental fortitude allowed them to achieve not just survival, but a quality of life that included restorative sleep. You lie down, feeling the subtle shifts in your own mind as you relax, appreciating the quiet strength of your ancient kin. They teach us that even in the most challenging times, the human spirit can find comfort, can find peace, and can truly drift into the deep, sweet dreams that allow for continued existence. Let the past sing you to sleep. You've explored the sophisticated layers of Ice Age comfort, from physical ingenuity to psychological fortitude. Now, as our journey nears its end, let us reflect on the enduring legacies of this ancient ingenuity. The Ice Age was not merely a period of primitive struggle. It was a crucible for human innovation, a time when challenges forged adaptations that would fundamentally shape the trajectory of our species. The solutions our ancestors devised for warmth, shelter, pest control, and restorative sleep were not isolated tricks. They were foundational technologies that laid the groundwork for all future human advancements, impacting everything from architecture to public health. You might look around your own modern home and suddenly see echoes of the Ice Age in unexpected places, a quiet reminder of where true comfort truly began. Consider the humble bed. From the meticulously layered grasses and furs of Sibudu and Ohalo II, you can trace a direct lineage to your modern mattress. The fundamental principle, creating a soft, insulated barrier between your body and the cold, hard ground, remains unchanged. The innovations of spring systems, memory foam, and temperature-regulating fabrics are merely sophisticated refinements of an ancient concept. Your ancestors understood the critical importance of a good night's sleep, not just for comfort, but for survival, and that understanding has been passed down, woven into the very fabric of human domesticity. You might feel the softness of your own pillow and appreciate the millennia of innovation that culminated in its form, realizing that its ultimate purpose remains the same as that ancient bundle of grasses. The mastery of fire, as we've explored, wasn't just about keeping warm. It was the first step towards controlling energy, transforming raw materials, and creating a habitable environment. This ancient hearth, crackling at the center of the communal dwelling, is the progenitor of all subsequent heating systems, from Roman hypocausts to modern central heating. Its legacy extends to cooking, metallurgy, and countless industrial processes. The pervasive scent of wood smoke from those ancient fires is an echo of humanity's first great technological leap, a testament to our innate drive to harness and manipulate the forces of nature for our comfort and survival. You might feel a phantom warmth on your face, a subtle memory of that primal heat, and understand its enduring significance. The architectural innovations of the Ice Age, from the clever positioning of cave entrances to the monumental construction of mammoth bone houses, laid the very foundations of human settlement and building. The concepts of insulation, structural support, and spatial organization, intuitively understood and applied by our ancestors, are the bedrock of all modern architecture. Every skyscraper, every cozy cottage, owes a debt to the anonymous engineers of the Ice Age, who first figured out how to build a durable, comfortable shelter from the raw materials of their world. You might glance at the walls of your own home and realize they are simply more refined versions of those ancient hides and bones, serving the same fundamental purpose: to keep you warm, dry, and secure. Even the ancient, ingenious methods of pest control have a profound legacy. The use of natural repellents and meticulous cleaning practices reflects an early understanding of public health and hygiene. While we now rely on chemical pesticides and advanced sanitation systems, the underlying principle that a clean, pest-free environment is essential for health and well-being was firmly established tens of thousands of years ago. The invisible battle against microscopic invaders, fought by your ancestors with aromatic plants and meticulous upkeep, continues today, albeit with different tools. You might feel a fleeting sense of gratitude for your modern pest control methods, remembering the constant vigilance required in the ancient world. The human resilience forged in the Ice Age also left an indelible mark on our species. The adaptability, problem-solving skills, and deep social cohesion that allowed them to survive and thrive are part of our shared genetic and cultural heritage. Their ability to innovate under extreme pressure, to learn from their environment, and to collaborate for the common good are traits that continue to define humanity. We stand on the shoulders of these ingenious ancestors, inheriting not just their technologies, but their very spirit of endurance and creativity. A mainstream historical fact that underscores this continuity is the concept of cultural transmission. The knowledge and skills developed in the Ice Age were not reinvented by each generation. They were meticulously passed down through observation, teaching, and storytelling. This continuous transfer of knowledge, from basic tool making to complex survival strategies, ensured that each successive generation could build upon the achievements of the last, leading to cumulative technological and social advancements. This wasn't merely survival, it was progress, slow and steady but undeniable. A quirky and perhaps comforting tidbit: the ancient habit of sleeping close together for warmth and security might still echo in our modern, often unconscious, desires for comfort. Think about snuggling under a heavy blanket, or the comfort of a pet curled up nearby, or even the subtle psychological reassurance of knowing other people are asleep in the house. These seemingly small preferences could be vestiges of our ancient need for communal warmth and vigilance, a deep-seated biological imprint from a time when shared body heat was a matter of life and death. There's no modern explanation for why a weighted blanket feels so good, but maybe your ancient self has an answer. Scholarly debates continue to explore the precise mechanisms of technological transfer and cultural evolution during the Paleolithic. How quickly did innovation spread across continents? Were there independent discoveries of similar technologies in different regions, or did they diffuse from a central point? These questions remain open, fueling the ongoing research that continues to redefine our understanding of the interconnectedness of ancient human societies. The legacy of the Ice Age is not one of primitive barbarism, but of profound ingenuity. It is a story of how a small, hairless ape, armed with nothing but observation, intelligence, and an unwavering drive for comfort and security, managed to conquer a planet. The mastery of a good night's sleep, achieved through sophisticated bedding, pest control, and architectural systems, was not a minor detail. It was a critical factor in humanity's success. It allowed them to recover, to dream, and to awaken refreshed, ready to face the world and continue their remarkable journey. You realize that your own comfort, your own peaceful sleep, is a direct inheritance from these ancient engineers. Echoes of the past, whispered for your rest. You have journeyed deep into the Ice Age, dispelling the dusty myths of grunting, primitive cavemen, and replacing them with a vibrant portrait of ingenious engineers and resourceful survivors. You felt the surprising comfort of meticulously crafted bedding, smelled the protective scent of natural pest repellents, and understood the profound warmth derived from skillfully managed fires and nutrient-rich diets. You've even touched the monumental remains of mammoth bone architecture and felt the collective security of shared sleep. As you return to your own time and space, let's reflect one last time on how these ancient comforts, born of necessity and refined through millennia, resonate deeply with your modern life. The seemingly simple act of seeking a good night's sleep, as you are doing now, connects you directly to your Ice Age ancestors. While your mattress might be a marvel of synthetic materials and ergonomic design, its fundamental purpose, to elevate you from the cold ground, to cushion your body, and to provide insulation, is precisely the same as that carefully assembled pile of grasses and furs 77,000 years ago. Your thermostat, a silent guardian of your internal climate, is a sophisticated descendant of that ancient hearth, meticulously tended to radiate warmth and deter biting winds. You might still enjoy the comforting sound of a fan, a gentle background hum, perhaps unknowingly mimicking the rhythmic crackle of an ancient fire, or the soft breathing of a communal clan that once lulled your ancestors to sleep. The ingenious engineering of our ancestors was not merely about brute force or chance discovery. It was about keen observation, empirical learning, and a profound understanding of their environment. They knew which plants deterred pests, which animals offered the best insulation, and how to harness fire not just for cooking, but for complex thermal regulation. They transformed the remains of the most formidable beasts into the very fabric of their homes, demonstrating a level of resourcefulness that borders on the miraculous. This relentless drive to innovate, to adapt, to transform a hostile world into a place of comfort and security is a cornerstone of human resilience. It is a testament to the fact that even in the harshest conditions, the human spirit yearns for not just survival, but for a measure of well-being, for the profound peace that comes with undisturbed rest. You might find yourself, in your own everyday life, unknowingly performing ancient rituals of comfort. Perhaps you instinctively fluff your pillow, much like an ancient human would adjust their bedding, or you pull a blanket tighter, mirroring the way your ancestors wrapped themselves in thick furs. The desire for a warm meal on a cold night, the solace of a well-lit room, the comfort of sleeping near loved ones, these are not merely modern preferences. They are deep-seated echoes of primal needs, instincts honed over countless millennia, reminding us that the fundamental human quest for comfort is an unbroken thread woven through the tapestry of time. This journey through Ice Age comfort definitively debunks the myth of the primitive, grunting caveman. Instead, it unveils a portrait of ingenious, sophisticated individuals who navigated incredible environmental challenges with remarkable intelligence and adaptability. Their solutions were elegant in their simplicity, yet profound in their impact, allowing a small, hairless ape to not only survive the freezing nights of an ice age but to thrive, to expand across continents, and ultimately to shape the world you inhabit today. While historians and archaeologists continue to unearth new evidence and debate the finer points of ancient daily life, the overarching narrative is clear. Our ancestors were far from simple. They were the original architects of comfort, the pioneers of domesticity, and the first to truly master the art of a good night's sleep. As we wind down our journey tonight, let the images of those ancient shelters, warm with firelight, filled with the soft rustle of carefully prepared bedding, and surrounded by the comforting presence of a sleeping clan, gently settle in your mind. Feel the deep appreciation for the ingenuity of those who came before us, those who built the very foundations of comfort that you now enjoy without a second thought. There is a quiet strength in knowing how far humanity has come, built upon the resilience and resourcefulness of those distant ancestors. Feel the softness of your own bed beneath you, the gentle warmth of your blankets, the stillness of the air around you. Imagine the vast, silent stretches of ancient ice, knowing that even there, deep within a carved-out cave or a mammoth-boned hut, humans found ways to create warmth, to find safety, and to drift into peaceful sleep. The struggles were immense, the world unforgiving, yet they persisted, driven by the same fundamental desires for comfort and security that you experience tonight. Allow yourself to feel the lingering echoes of their ancient comfort, the gentle whisper of history's lullaby. Let the remarkable ingenuity of our ancestors cradle your mind, reassuring you that even in the face of immense challenges, humanity finds a way to create a haven for rest. Release any lingering thoughts, any worries from your day, and allow the quiet confidence of ancient survival to settle over you. Your comfort now is a legacy, a gift from those who mastered the art of a good night's sleep when it truly meant the difference between life and death. You are safe, you are warm, you are secure. Let your breathing deepen, becoming slow and even. The story fades now, leaving only a sense of profound peace and a quiet appreciation for the journey we've taken together. Drift through time, dream through history, carried by the comforting knowledge that humanity has always found a way to create its own sweet dreams, even in the coldest of nights.